Hello, my name is Hanna Engström, and I really would like to tell you a little story about my past and what had made me sitting here now in front of you telling you my story. Because I'm born into a horse family. My father, he was very idealistic and he wanted to do all the household farming with his horses, and he had even been living in Mongolia among the Cossacks and the Mongolian riders for several years, and his ideology about horses were to actually live among them, and that both horses and humans could help each other to survive. That created a special way of my childhood where the ingredients to have horses around and doing things with the horses was the most natural thing in the world. I also remember that I was counting in the horses as my best friends, and it was natural for me to spend a lot of time among them. Well, even if my father had a very idealistic view of how he wanted to integrate horses and staying around horses in the normal day, his riding experience were poor. Because in Mongolia, it's enough that you sit up there and you just go forward. So was also the Swedish military training where my father has been into, that everything was about to have a good balance and just staying up there. If you could stay up there, you were a good enough rider. And that was a method he was trying to teach me how to ride as a child. So everything were about to getting a good balance and staying up there no matter what happened. And every time I failed and I fall off that horse, he was yelling at me and said, "Wow, you are destroying this horse. What will he think about you if you cannot keep your balance up there? He might think that he'll get scared about having you on his back when you are falling off all the time. So don't do that any longer." Well, and then during nights, riders, they are always riding even in the nights. You are laying there and figure out, next time I will do it better. Next time I will stay up there. But why I'm telling you this word, that I was actually probably getting a lot of small whiplashes and some traumas in my spine already as a child, because of that ideal that you should fall off at least 100 times before you can count you in as a good rider. And I remember that I had back problems already as a child, and I was suffering quite a lot from not finding my posture and always feeling a little bit uncomfortable in my own body. Well, I was growing, so also my experience around horses. My parents divorced, and I was supposed to be in the local riding school, and there I was, opened my eyes and were very surprised how I could see that the riding teachers were putting a lot of effort in telling people how they should sit and how they should be posed in the saddle to look like a good rider. But because I was trained as a child to read both body language from humans and body language from horses, I could see that a lot of riders were doing in the posture as if, so the riding teacher were pleased, but the communication in between the horse and the rider was not really there. That was what I could see. And also that the rider still, even if she looked pretty well up there, were still a little bit insecure and a little bit afraid. Afraid of falling off, afraid because she couldn't really feel the horse through her seat because it was all occupied by being in a position. And I could also see the horses in their movements that they were also learning to pretend a little bit how to look like. But how was it really with the communication and the softness? Because even then, so many years ago, we were coming to the riding school because we wanted to be around horses and spend time with them, because somehow when we were able to communicate with them and take care of them and of course also sit on them once in a while, we felt like a whole person. It was really, really important for me, especially during all my times when I was younger, to spend a lot of times with horses, because I felt whole. I felt that I can see someone and that someone sees me. That many times in a young girl's day of learning about life, not so many people have time to get so intimate or to get so close in the quiet relationship that we need as a nourishment for growing as persons. So I was already then, when I was quite young, thinking, how do we do to come further in this process? How could we translate the language, and how could we be more honest in our relationships with the horse, but also with ourselves? And how do you learn how to ride? Because of course it would be very, very nice to also be a good rider, so both you and the horse becomes healthier, because the movements gets healthier for both of you. Yeah, that's interesting. So when I was not too old, I think I were like 24 or something, I stumbled over the academic art of riding, because I had a very special horse. And at that time I was doing the military. You know, you are making a little bit show jumping, you are doing some dressage program, but you are also riding cross country and are jumping quite awful awful jumps out there in the nature, but young and wild, you know. And at that time I was unfortunately used to even do the rides quite dramatical, so I increase a little bit of adrenaline in my system, and you feel a little bit high because it's a little bit dangerous and a little bit scary. It could tickle in your stomach and your adrenaline goes high, and when you are managing, you just feel so enlightened. So that was a little bit what I was doing then at that time. But of course, if you invest you can also fail. So I was many times falling off those horses, and you don't think about it. You think, I have a lot of pain for some days, or even ended in the hospital. It's nothing. Just if the horse is fine, we are so tough up there in the saddle. I remember that everything was about just going with the flow somehow. And in one way it's good, but in another way, I didn't come closer to the real core I were looking for and was feeling when I was a younger child, spending time around the horses in another way.